Welcome to A Moment of Zen. Time to sit back and relax as model, actress, mentor, and supermom Zen Sams takes you on a sexy and wild ride, covering the latest in film, fashion, pop culture, cryptocurrency, fintech, cannabis, and entertainment from the millennial mom's perspective. Here's your host, Zen Sams.
Hello, my beautiful tri-state area. Happy New Year and welcome to 2024. This is our 147th episode. It's always such a pleasure to spend my time with you on the airwaves. Thank you for listening and interacting with us on social media. That truly does make it all worthwhile. Please make sure to follow me at Zen Sams. That's Zen with an X, not a Z, X-E-N. Also remember that all episodes of A Moment of Zen stream 24/7 on Kathy Ireland's Your Home TV. And of course, you can always find us on our YouTube channel. In our Hydration with Heart segment, brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, live from iHeart headquarters right here in Midtown Manhattan, we're featuring the incredible Blaise French. He's an influencer and entrepreneur with close to 4 million followers and counting. He's the former marketing manager for Body Armor sports drink, and he scored big with Coca-Cola's buyout for $5.6 billion, proving that Blaise has an amazing track record in branding. Coming full circle, he's now officially the Assistant Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Once Upon a Coconut. He joins me to chat all about the power of branding and marketing, how social media has changed the marketing field, and how celebrities can surely make or break a brand. In our Trailblazer segment, brought to you by Your Home TV and our friends over at Kathy Ireland Worldwide, today we're featuring Lizzie Savetsky. She's a digital influencer and an outspoken activist for Israel and the Jewish people. Today, she joins me to chat whether the Israeli-Hamas conflict was inevitable, where the Israeli community stands from here, and her opinion on if Joe Biden is handling the situation properly. In America's favorite pharmacist segment, brought to you by MaryRuth Organics, we're chatting with pharmaceutical expert and mega social media influencer Phil Cowley. He's joined by our dear friend Nikki Giavasis. She's a beauty and wellness advocate, coach, and entrepreneur. She joins me today to chat why puberty starts earlier than it used to and why no one knows. In our Going Deep segment, we're going to go behind the scenes and on the red carpet live from the Hilton right here in Midtown Manhattan. We're going to be interviewing Dr. Louis Bucky. He's an internationally renowned board-certified plastic surgeon and founder of Bucky Plastic Surgery. He performs more than 1,000 cosmetic procedures a year, including breast augmentation, facelift surgery, mommy makeovers, and just so much more. He shares his thoughts on CO2 lift for skin, potential use cases, and its incredible non-invasive age-reversing benefits. In our Express Discover Your Potential segment, brought to you by Body Align with host Anna DeVere. She's going to give us the preview of Morgana Ray's book, Financial Alchemy, to help you create a new and improved relationship with money. Stay tuned for Lizzie Savetsky, digital influencer and outspoken activist for Israel and the Jewish people, chatting Israeli-Hamas conflict. Was the war inevitable, and what her opinion on Joe Biden's handling of the situation is. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Your Home TV.
Hi, this is Kathy Ireland here on A Moment of Zen, brought to you by Your Home TV. We've developed an all-inclusive subscription-free network that you're going to love, whether it's financial freedom, fashion, beauty, health and wellness, wonderful weddings, travel and culture, cooking, entertainment, and short-form documentaries, programming for everyone. Classic films and new shows, including Kathy Ireland Presents American Dreams. We've developed this network just for you. Please check out yourhometv.com.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in our Trailblazer segment, brought to you by Your Home TV and our friends over at Kathy Ireland Worldwide, we're featuring the awesome Lizzie Savetsky. She's a digital influencer and outspoken activist for Israel and the Jewish people. She travels across the nation and internationally to speak for numerous nonprofit organizations and philanthropic movements to support her people and her homeland. She's gained a devoted following of over 350,000 followers on Instagram alone, where she shares educational videos, advocacy, and glimpses into her life as a mom of 3 in New York City. She's been called a digital warrior, fighting anti-Semitism on the front lines of social media. Today, she joins me to chat why the Israel-Hamas war was inevitable or not, where the Israeli community stands from here, and her opinion on if Joe Biden is handling the situation properly. Now, of around 240 people taken captive on October 7th, almost half were released by Hamas during a brief truce in November. And Hamas's war with Israel is in some ways our third world war, some would say. Israel and her people, they're being fought on both physical battlefields and digital ones, with huge global reach and implications. In today's tidy, wired world, which we all are, it's possible that the war over the Gaza Strip, which is twice the size of Washington, D.C., could actually decide the next president of America. And among the most ignorant and vile things that have been said about this Gaza war is that Hamas had no choice, that its wars with Israel culminating on October 7th with a murderous rampage, the kidnappings of Israelis as young as 10 months old and as old as 86, and the rape of Israeli women could somehow be excused. Well, my heart hurts for the victims, as does Lizzie's and so many others. As Israel's vigil for its hostages in Gaza moves into a 4th month, a sense that time is passing while world attention shifts elsewhere has deepened the anguish felt by their families as hope has faded for a deal to secure their release. Welcoming now to the show to get her thoughts is the amazing Lizzie Savetsky. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm so honored that you're doing this segment and have brought me here to talk about it.
Well, you are the perfect person, and how fitting it is for you to talk about this. So can you share with us, I'm going to start from the beginning, your journey as a digital influencer and how you became an outspoken activist for Israel and the Jewish people? And of course, I'd love to know what motivated you to use your platform to advocate for Israel and address these issues like anti-Semitism.
So I had always been an outspoken Jewish person. It was never something that I hid from the world, but it also wasn't my focus with my content. I was a fashion and accessories blogger, sometimes, sharing bits and pieces of my life as a mom in New York City. And I would share things like the Jewish holidays or what I was cooking for Shabbat dinner, but I was never really looking at my content as advocacy. And everything really changed for me in the spring of 2021 during the conflict in Gaza, which at the time we were considering a war, but it's referred to now as a conflict. And I see now, since October 7th, how much more severe, things have gotten. It was really one particular day when I made a decision to wrap myself in the Israeli flag and make a post on Instagram about why I stand with Israel. And the reason I did this was because a friend of mine who lived in Israel and served in the IDF texted me, and she said, "Lizzie, we are being pummeled on social media and in the media by people with huge platforms, and we really need your voice." And I just said, "Well, what am I supposed to say?" And she said, "It will come to you. This is the moment that you were made for." And I suddenly felt this huge weight of responsibility, like I had to step up to the plate, because really so few were, and nobody in my industry was. So I did this post and immediately knew that there would be no turning back. And it got really dark for me for a while because I lost a ton of followers. I was getting death threats every single day. I lost some friends, and I lost jobs. I ultimately got dropped by my management company at the time. And I realized I had two choices. I could either just act like this never happened and go back to regularly scheduled programming, or I was going to have to fully lean into it and commit my life and career to this. And that's what I decided to do.
Now, it's interesting because the weekly demonstrations
attract crowds in the thousands, but developments like the presumed assassination in Lebanon just recently of Saleh al-Aruri, the deputy leader of Hamas, and political rows about the future of Gaza after the war have left all these families feeling increasingly left behind. That compounded with the death toll among Palestinians climbing now to near 25,000, the world attention has increasingly shifted to the victims of the bombardment and away from the hostages and the 1,200 Israelis and foreigners killed by Hamas on the first day of the war. What do you say to this?
Well, first of all, where are you getting this number, 25,000? That number is coming from Hamas. So that's number one. We're talking about a terrorist organization that said within 5 minutes that 500 people had been killed when Shifa Hospitals was hit by a rocket. How did they know within 5 minutes how high the death toll was? It took Israel 5 weeks to count the 1,400 bodies from October 7th. So you're telling me in 5 minutes that they know how many people were killed. And the second thing to keep in mind is that whatever number of Palestinians have been killed, thousands and thousands of those Palestinians are terrorists. These people have been taken out in surgical, targeted attacks. And yes, there have been civilian casualties, which is absolutely heartbreaking. But the only source for blame there is Hamas.
Yes. And Hamas, to your point, Lizzie, is not simply engaged in some pure vanilla anti-colonial struggle against Israel. I mean, only Hamas's useful idiots on U.S. college campuses actually believe that, right? And Hamas is engaged in a raw power struggle with Fatah, the political party, which is, at the grassroots of Yasser Arafat there, for those of you that don't know, over who will control Gaza and the West Bank. And it's engaged in a power struggle in the region alongside other pro-Muslim Brotherhood parties and regimes like Turkey and Qatar against pro-Western monarchies like Saudi Arabia and Jordan and Kuwait and the UAE and military-led regimes like Egypt. So this is clear as day, but unfortunately our youth is not educated on this. And it turns into a social media thing and who's repping Bella Hadid and who did Dior drop or didn't drop, and they've missed the point.
They've absolutely missed the point. It's an amazing PR propaganda machine that they have coming out of Hamas. It's absolutely genius. It's this idea that there is the oppressed and there is the oppressor, and the oppressed people are allowed to do whatever they want to their oppressor, even if it means murdering, burning families alive, raping, kidnapping. This is the narrative that is being fed to our youth, and therefore they side with Hamas. And yes. 51% of 18 to 24-year-olds who were polled in the Harvard Harris poll said that Hamas's October 7th attack was justified.
Well, I'm going to hope that Gazans are gonna come to a realizations because they know the truth, right? Fresh polling data that was reported by the AFP indicated that on the eve of October 7th, many Gazans were hostile to Hamas ahead of the group's brutal attack on Israel, with some describing its rule as a second occupation. So I think things are going to shift right now, which brings me to my next question. Was the Israel-Hamas war inevitable, and do you believe that Israel had a choice? And could you elaborate on your perspective and why you believe this to be the case?
I think it's really hard because Israel is a nation that values life, not just the lives of their own people, but the lives of every single human being. And so when you're a nation like that and you're up against a terrorist-run group who does not value the life of anyone, not even the life of their own, it's a very hard battle to fight. It's not a fair fight. So I think that it was, I do think that this was destined to happen. There was no way that Hamas was going to stay in power and not actualize on their promises. It says in the Hamas charter that they are going to kill every single Jew. It
Well,
says it right there in black and white.
yeah, you're right.
They're going to annihilate the state of Israel.
Let's go to videotape. In September of 2005, Ariel Sharon completed a unilateral withdrawal of all Israeli forces and settlements from Gaza, which Israel occupied in the 1967 war. In short order, Hamas began attacking the crossing points between Gaza and Israel to show that even if Israel was gone, the resistance movement wasn't over. And these crossing points were a lifeline for commerce and jobs, and Israel eventually reduced the number of crossings from 6 to 2. Cut to January of 2006, the Palestinians held elections hoping to give the Palestinian Authority legitimacy to run Gaza and the West Bank. There was a debate among Israel, Palestinian, and Bush administration officials over whether Hamas should be allowed to run in the elections because Hamas had rejected the Oslo peace accords with Israel. And had Hamas embraced Oslo and chosen to build its own Dubai, not only would the world have lined up to aid and invest in it, it would have been the most powerful springboard conceivable for a Palestinian state in the West Bank, in the heart of the Palestinian ancestral homeland. Palestinians would have proved to themselves, to Israel, and to the world that they would do what they would do, basically, with their own territory. But Hamas decided instead to make Gaza a springboard for destroying Israel. And to your point, to annihilate every single Jew. And that's what's been at the root since the beginning. They are terrorists.
That's all they care about. They've never cared about building any sort of infrastructure or building any sort of future for their poor civilians who deserve, by the way, to have a beautiful future. All they've ever cared about is indoctrinating their children into hating Jews and teaching their youngins how to kill, how to, they have camps that they train them how to be future terrorists. This is all they've ever cared about. Their only ideal is to kill Jews and to annihilate the state of Israel. That's it.
Yeah, and again, I tell people, spare me the nonsense that this war is all about the innocent colonized oppressed and the evil colonizing oppressors and that Israel alone was responsible for the isolation of Gaza and that the only choice Hamas had for years was to create this underground skyline of tunnels up to 230 feet deep, and that its only choice on October 7th was martyrdom. I mean, Hamas has never wavered from being more interested in destroying the Jewish state than in building a Palestinian state, because that goal of annihilating Israel is what has enabled Hamas to justify its hold on power indefinitely, even though Gaza has known only economic misery since Hamas seized control, right?
Which is so crazy, and that's exactly what pokes so many holes in that argument, is that they have been given so much money from nations all around the world, and their leaders are living these lavish lives while the innocent, or maybe not innocent, civilians of Gaza are suffering and living in poverty. So if they are living in misery, if they are impoverished, they should be blaming their leaders because their leaders are living large.
Yeah. Exactly. Now, I'm interested to hear your perspective on where do you believe the Israeli community stands now and what are the key challenges moving forward?
Going into October 7th, the population in Israel had never been more politically divided. It was a very rough time period for the Israelis. But since October 7th, they have all come together. I mean, 300,000 reservists stepped up, ran towards the war to do whatever they could for their country. They really put their political differences aside because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is the survival of our people in our homeland. So, I think that is priority one. I know that there are a lot of differences of opinions surrounding the current political leadership in Israel. But I, as a Jewish activist who lives in America, I love Israel, but I'm not Israeli. I make it a very strict point that I don't get involved in the inner workings of Israel's politics because I can't pretend to know what it's like to be living in Israel right now since October 7th, to feel that I am under attack in the way that they are. And, I can't put myself in their shoes to imagine how resentful or angry I may feel towards my leadership. And so while I am, as an outsider, able to see good points and bad points, when you're up close and personal with it, and it is your leadership, it's just a different level of impact.
Bringing me full circle to Joe Biden's handling of the situation. What's your opinion on how Joe Biden is handling the situation in the aftermath of the Israel-Hamas conflict, let's call it?
Well, okay. So I'm going to start really positive. I'm really happy that we had Joe Biden and not, Barack Obama in office, because Joe Biden, I do believe, and some of your listeners may vehemently disagree with me on this, but I believe that Joe Biden is pro-Israel in his heart. I think it's a generational thing. Maybe it's nice that he's elderly, because his generation were big supporters of Israel. It was not a controversial subject the way that it is in this day and age. And, they supported Israel with no ifs, and or buts, and knew that it was a mutually beneficial relationship between Israel and America, which I believe that Joe still believes it is. There have been issues. The $6 billion given to Iran, his administration, I really don't trust. I was highly offended when Kamala Harris came out with the national strategy to counter Islamophobia, which, by the way, has not risen at all since October 7th. Meanwhile, anti-Semitism has skyrocketed.
Through the roof.
So, I mean, how tone deaf can you be? And so what I fear is if he were to be reelected, I mean, he's not a young guy. And while I may feel safe with his views on Israel, I really don't trust the rest of his administration at all. And I really fear for the next generation of Democrats and the way that things are going, the wokeness and just it's really this. I believe that they're not even doing a good job of hiding their anti-Semitism.
We are almost out of time, and I have one last question for you, my darling. Being a mom of 3 children in New York City, how do you balance your role as an influencer and an activist with your responsibilities as mom?
Oh, balance. That's funny. I'm a Libra. I'm constantly in search of it. I don't really know if balance exists. It has not existed for me since October 7th. I am all in. And, I'm grateful that my family is all in too. My family, we were in Israel on October 7th. We spent the day in a bomb shelter in Jerusalem. And, my kids are impacted for life from that experience that we all shared as a family. And so we've really worked together in our advocacy. It's really become a family business. And it has given my children so much purpose to be able to be involved, whether it's hanging up posters of the hostages, interviewing family members of hostages. My 11-year-old daughter did an amazing interview with a 14-year-old girl whose dad is still currently in Gaza. It's given them purpose in this moment. And so this is really it. This is what I wake up every day thinking about. It's what I go to bed thinking about and, wake up many times throughout the night. This is it for me.
Oh, my dear Lizzie. Well, you are doing an incredible job at getting not only your voice out there, but being a huge supporter to Israel and her people. And I'm so proud to have interviewed you today and gotten your thoughts on the latest developments and bringing it directly from your mouth to our listeners, which I think are going to have a fantastic time listening to you. And they're going to definitely be sharing this because you bring so much insight and depth and transparency. And so thank you so much for coming on and being a trailblazer.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
That was our Trailblazer segment brought to you by Your Home TV and our friends over at Kathy Ireland Worldwide. That was the awesome Lizzie Savetsky. She's a digital influencer, an outspoken activist for Israel and the Jewish people. You could head directly on the gram and check her out at Lizzie Savetsky. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Kathy Ireland's Your Home TV and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
Gogo Becky, the social media queen of real estate, teaches you the secrets to success through her own journey. From immigrant to entrepreneur, watch how she paved her way to $1.8 billion in sales. Watch Gogopreneur on yourhometv.com.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, 100% pure coconut water. Imagine a drink that's nutrient-rich, powerfully refreshing, naturally sweet with no added sugars, not from concentrate, zero additives, low in calories, absolutely no artificial flavors, and is so tasty that it will become your new favorite beverage. Enter Once Upon a Coconut, the absolute best tasting coconut water you will ever try. Available in 4 refreshing flavors: pure, chocolate, pineapple, and sparkling with energy. Do your taste buds a favor and pick up some today at onceuponacoconut.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in our Hydration with Heart segment, brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, live from iHeart headquarters right here in Midtown Manhattan. We're featuring the awesome Blaise French. He's an influencer and entrepreneur with close to 4.5 million followers and counting. He's also the former marketing manager for Body Armor sports drink. Now, Blaise scored big with Coca-Cola's buyout for $5.6 billion, proving he has an amazing track record in branding. He's partnered with brands such as Milk Bar, Target, or what I like to call Target, Banana Republic, Stance, True Religion, Fashion Nova Men, the list goes on and on. More recently, Aloe and Manscaped.
He is now officially the Assistant Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Once Upon a Coconut.
A big congratulations to him for that. He joins me today to chat all about the power of branding and marketing and how social media has changed the marketing field. Welcoming now to the show is the awesome and my dear friend, Blaise French. Welcome, superstar.
Zen Sans, what's up, my girl? Great to be here. Thank you so much.
God bless. Happy New Year. The
Happy
new year rang in a lot of exciting stuff for you. So can you tell us a little bit more about your journey from being marketing over at Body Armor Sports Drink to becoming
Assistant VP of Sales and Marketing at Once Upon a Coconut?
Yeah, for sure. So, that Body Armor run was very legendary. It started in 2012 and it finished up in 2021 with a big sale of Coca-Cola for $5.6 billion. But the learnings and the relationships and things I learned from Body Armor, I'm now happy to take it over to Once Upon a Coconut and look to implement those same skills and relationships that I learned at Body Armor and bring it over to Once Upon a Coconut.
Well, that's extremely important, and that's why they chose you. Your notable success in branding, especially this Coca-Cola buyout that you're talking about, implemented key strategies. Now, what key strategies do you believe contributed to such a significant achievement?
I think that sales and marketing have to be on the same side. And at Body Armor, we were very on the same page. So when we ran promotions at Targets and Walmarts, we would partner up with the local, athletic events or 5Ks that's going around, the area. So when people would, have a basketball game, they would be dehydrated, and then the Walmart up the block would have a sale, a 5 for 5 or a 4 for 5. So we would direct traffic directly from that event to the retail. So just being on the same pages there and kind of aligning with the right celebrities or influencers with the brand. Kobe Bryant was a big influence for us at Body Armor. So bring those same tools and strategies over to Once Upon a Coconut.
You got to be on your A game, and that you are on. Now, how did you approach building and maintaining a strong brand image during your tenure at Body Armor, all while competing with Gatorade?
Yeah, social media, I had to turn to social media because, going against Gatorade in the streets is really hard. If you go into a store, you see nothing but Gatorade or Snapple or Arizona, and, you got to turn to social media where the kids are and where the eyeballs are. So that's what kind of drew me to, come up with social media plans and strategies there. And that's how the following grew, and that's how Body Armor grew. Just because Gatorade had a 50-year head start. But on Instagram's new, and they weren't on Instagram like that. So we kind of took it our initiative to, get into those new fields. So social media, coming onto radio. I wish I had, knew you back when I was doing Body Armor. Maybe we would have sold for $10 billion instead of $5 billion.
Yes.
But now, now we're here. So Once Upon a Coconut, we're definitely going to be doing some social media pushes and many other strategies as well.
Of course, when you talk about the motivation to turn to social media, it's because it's all about social selling
Yeah.
and targeting that demographic, those Gen Alphas, those Gen Zers that you otherwise would not be able to find. And so your experience is working with these diverse brands like Milk Bar and Target and Banana Republic and Aloe and Manscaped. Those are a testament to your selection process. If you think of it, I mean, throughout the years, you have embraced social media influencership, right? Influencership, if you call it, and you've become very active on Instagram, and those brands reached out to you directly. And I think it's fantastic that you were able to pave the way for brands, making sure that you're leveraging communities on social media with your 4.5 million followers. Now, let's talk about marketing trends for 2024. So, how do you see marketing evolving in 2024, and what trends do you think will shape the industry?
Yeah, so something you said a little while ago, you said being selective, and that's the key. I'm super selective with the brands that I work with, and when I work with a brand, I'm super selective with the marketing strategies we do, and working with Once Upon a Coconut, I definitely want to do the right things. You don't want to try to just do everything. You kind of want to be selective and be strategic, and retail is something very important. And then we were talking about retail, such as Fairway, such as Stop and Shop, such as Target, which I have great relationships with. So partnering with them, and they have a lot of initiatives and a lot of like athletic communities that they support. So going to them and kind of supporting what they have going on only helps in store. So instead of 2 facings, now we'll have 4 facings, just because we gave them that support. So definitely partnering up with the big retailers. And there's a ton of athletes I have. I'm a huge Knicks fan and a huge Mets fan, and they have some guys over there that we're definitely looking at. So there's going to be some things coming for sure.
Wow, you have a whole roadmap. I love it. It's
Yeah.
it's interesting that our ethos aligns when it comes to branding and marketing. As a live radio host and even TV host, brands come to me every day to help share their story and be their voice and be their ambassador. And that selection process is a marriage, right? At the end of the day, you have to be able to mesh with the brand, believe in the brand, understand the brand's mission, and help them grow. So, can you share the story behind Once Upon a Coconut and its mission, especially in the context of the Hydration with Heart segment?
Yeah, being selective again and having a solid team is most important for me. And I have to be around people that I like to work with. And Once Upon a Coconut has a great team, starting with their founder, John, who's an amazing guy, and he's been very successful, but he's very solid and very true to who he is, which I could, relate to. And then they have Ray and Mark, who kind of run the sales and marketing, of the company, and those guys are, great guys, to be around, whether, we have a crappy product or a great product. And then, Zen is amazing. I love Zen. She's amazing. So I just really love the team that we have.
And a big shout out to Alan, who is the most incredible
Alan is a good dude.
graphics and design. And he is really the vision behind what the cans look like in the art. Him and Mark, designed a very, very sleek looking can. There's a lot of uh, new designs coming out in this year as well, with an increase in products for the product line. So lots of exciting stuff. But what I specifically love about Once Upon a Coconut is that they give back. They give back 10% of every case of coconut sold. They give back to the community. They're big on the Down Syndrome Foundation in Florida. But more importantly, they are just true philanthropists, and they want to see good come from this, from this, the world. So
Yeah,
I truly big hat off to that team.
sure.
Now, let's chat brand power, which is essentially the ultimate sway your business will have in its chosen market. And this involves thinking about how your business can create a product or service worth having, and the power your business has to make that product worth much more than competitors in a crowded market. What is your advice here?
Um, I mean, when I look at today's branding and I look at companies like Prime, where I don't necessarily love the product, But I love the marketing and I love the brand power that they're doing. So I think, as we talk about social and kind of just like building momentum and being a part of the right events, um, we gotta, take our hats off to brands like that. And Aloe is a company I love, and their brand power is huge. And I just found out about them maybe 2 years ago when I moved to LA. But people were wearing it like it was Gucci or like a high luxury fashion brand, and that's what kind of drew my eye to it. And ever since I started working with them, I love the clothes and just kind of the people behind it as well. So I think like brand power has to do with a lot of the culture of the brand, and Once Upon a Coconut has that culture. Body Armor had that culture. And when people first try it, that experience. I would love to be like the face or the person that they meet when they first try it, because people never forget that experience and how someone make them feel. And something me and my friends keep saying is, I just want to feel good, and everybody just wants to feel good. And at Once Upon a Coconut, we want to provide a high quality product, and we want people to feel good. And as you said, the philanthropy aspect of it is really amazing, and something I'm getting into more. So I just want to make people feel good.
It's so important to give back. Yes. And that's why you have to drink the legend. Drink
Yes.
Once Upon a Coconut. Now, from the financial services sector to restaurants and fashion brands, we know that appeasing your customer is key. And what we know is that the power of social media and a strong online presence is critical to building brand trust and loyalty. Consumers need and crave connectivity, and connectivity breeds community, and community breeds loyalty, and loyal customers feed the bank account. It's all intertwined. Now, the top sellers rely on social media in an all out, quote unquote, effort to grow a business. The question is, why? Just like you buy online, over 25% of young Americans up to age 35, what we're talking about, buy directly from social media channels and make their decisions based on those social trends. And this is the new normal, right, Blaze? So for leaders and entertainers in business, the need to connect with peers and customers digitally has never been more imperative. And I think that's what you're really good at.
For sure, for sure. Just making engaging content and doing things that's not repetitive. So I love to show a lifestyle and not just one thing. So I don't really just focus on fitness or just fashion. I focus on lifestyle because, I do fitness, I do fashion, I like to travel, I like to go to great restaurants, I like to, do a lot of different things. So I think more people can relate that way, instead of just focusing on a niche market. And that keeps people engaged because they're like, oh, you're at this restaurant, oh, you're traveling here, oh, you're doing this, oh, you're doing that. So it keeps them having to keep up with you instead of them already assuming what you're going to do. Like, oh, I already know what this post is. This is the same stuff he does every day or the same things. So, as a brand, Once Upon a Coconut, we definitely want to keep it fresh and do a lot of different things and keep the consumers guessing. And there's some new flavors coming out that I'm super, super excited about. The chocolate coconut is my favorite. But these new flavors that are coming, I'm super, super excited about. And that's what I'm talking about when I say, like, keeping the consumers guessing.
Yeah, for sure. And Once Upon a Coconut does a great job at keeping consumers guessing because there's always something exciting that they're working on, or more importantly, a social campaign that they are part of that is, drawing in a lot of traffic. But the most important thing when it comes to all of this is you have to have a great product. And Once Upon a Coconut is great in taste. It provides health benefits unlike water could, right? Because of all the electrolyte replacements, potassium, magnesium, and more importantly, it's low in sugar and it's a natural product. And this was important for me. The cans are BPA free because, of course, now you definitely want to keep those chemtrails away, and chemtrails can be found in anything. So if I'm drinking water to hydrate and replenish lost fluid or to, as a pre-workout, I also want to make sure that the can I'm drinking it out of is safe for consumption, which a lot of brands and companies don't check that box on their list. So yeah, lots of good stuff coming up. Well, we are at the end. Thank you so much for coming in studio and chatting with me, my darling. You are quite the impressive person, both on social media and right here at headquarters. Thank you.
Zen, you are the best. I love you so much. Thank you for having me. Once Upon a Coconut, it's about to take off. So look forward to a big 2024.
That's right, baby. Let's do it. We're going only one way up, upwards and onwards.
Absolutely.
Now, in conclusion, the power of celebrities and branding cannot be underestimated in today's competitive marketplace. Celebrities have the ability to captivate audiences, influence consumer perceptions, and elevate a brand's visibility. And by associating with well-known figures, brands can tap into the emotional connections and aspirations that celebrities represent. Right? Establishing this strong and relatable image, it's so important. And leveraging social media platforms allows brands to engage directly with their target audience, fostering authenticity, which is so important, building trust, and expanding their reach. And the combined impact of celebrities and social media amplifies a brand's message. It drives brand awareness, and ultimately, it contributes to long-term brand equity. And to stay ahead in the ever-evolving marketing landscape, harnessing the power of social media and celebrities and influencers is a potent strategy that will without a doubt propel a brand towards success. That was our famous Hydration with Heart segment. That was the awesome Blaise French. You could head directly to onceuponacoconut.com, or you can check them out on the gram at onceuponacoconut. And do check out Blaise as an influencer on social media at Blaise French. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. That's Blaise French with 2 Fs. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, 100% pure coconut water. Imagine a drink that's nutrient-rich, powerfully refreshing, naturally sweet with no added sugars, not from concentrate, zero additives, low in calories, absolutely no artificial flavors, and is so tasty that it will become your new favorite beverage. Enter Once Upon a Coconut, the absolute best tasting coconut water you will ever try. Available in 4 refreshing flavors: pure, chocolate, pineapple, and sparkling with energy. Do your taste buds a favor and pick up some today at onceuponacoconut.com.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by MaryRuth Organics. Not all supplements are alike. MaryRuth believes that making the best supplements means creating products that are only made out of the highest quality ingredients. They are non-GMO, plant-based, vegan, and they taste great. MaryRuth's Organics assist in maintaining your health and aid your body on your way to wellness. For more information, go to MaryRuthOrganics.com and use the promo code PHIL20MRO for 30% discount off your first order. That's MaryRuthOrganics.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next, in America's Favorite Pharmacist segment, brought to you by MaryRuth Organics, we're going to be chatting with pharmaceutical expert and mega social media influencer and our regular contributor, Phil Cowley. Today, he's joined by our dear friend, Nikki Giavasis. She's beauty and a wellness advocate, coach, entrepreneur, author, and a mega influencer. Today, they join me to chat why puberty starts earlier than it used to and why no one knows why. Now, some girls are starting to develop breasts as early as age 6 or 7. Researchers are studying the role of obesity, chemicals, and stress. And studies in recent decades have confirmed in dozens of countries that the age of puberty in girls has dropped by about 3 months per decade since the 1970s. A similar pattern, though less extreme, has been observed in boys. Now, although it's difficult to tease apart cause and effect, earlier puberty may have harmful impacts, especially for girls, is what research is telling us. Now, girls who go through puberty early are at higher risk of depression, anxiety, substance abuse, and other physiological and physical problems compared with peers who hit puberty later. Now, girls who get their periods earlier may also be at risk of developing breast or uterine cancer in adulthood. Here to chat and break it all down for us is the amazing Phil Cowley and our dear friend Nikki Giavasis. Welcome to the show, superstars.
Thank you.
Nikki,
Good to see you.
good to see you too. Happy 2024 and all the best for the new year. Phil,
Happy
so nice to have you
2024.
back.
It's awesome to be back. This is awesome.
Okay. Phil, take it away. I know you have a lot of questions to ask us gals about this.
Well, this subject's like been so like intriguing to me for so long because we keep seeing this drop in puberty age for the girls, and they thought it was one thing, and then they thought it was another thing, but now they've kind of turned to say, okay, what are we going to do about it? And it's kind of interesting because, like in a lot of things in medical, men are trying to explain to women what they need, maybe way too often. So I wanted to jump into this with maybe people who've lived through it, who've seen it, with parents. And my first question is, Nikki, what of this? Like you hear about all this each year, girls are getting their periods earlier, they're getting their breasts earlier. What is the first thing that jumps out to you when you hear this about concerns?
The first concern is older men, obviously, looking at the girl and thinking she's older than her age. And, mentally, she's not older than her age. So that's a concern as far as safety.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the way that you brought up that mentally she's not there. I think that they're not progressing in a maturity way, but they're when it comes to intellectual, but they're definitely their bodies are maturing faster, and that concern is huge. So when you look at girls that are struggling with this or that are early on, Zen, I was just wondering, what's the first thing that you think about when you see all this stuff?
Obesity. I think that when people stayed home at the beginning of the pandemic, the rate of body mass index increased among young people, especially young people ages 2 to 19 years old. That roughly doubled, and that's according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Now, body fat generates a puberty activating hormone called leptin, and higher BMI boosts leptin levels and can kickstart puberty. So, stress and anxiety also skyrocketed alongside COVID, which may have raised cortisol, which is the body's stress hormone, in a way that affected children's endocrine systems, right? So the endocrine system was affected and compounded during the pandemic with obesity and stress. And similarly, kids spent more time on devices for both school and play and less time outdoors. And researchers speculate this lifestyle shift has a lot of leeway with respect to releasing serotonin and dopamine, the mood hormone levels, and that actually lowered vitamin D, altering the brain. So I think the lifestyle post pandemic, the rate of obesity and the body mass index of children increasing, and the mood disorders that compounded all of this is one of the reasons why I speculate. In the last couple of years, we've seen this increase in puberty, starting at a young age.
Yeah, that's actually very interesting. There was a study that was put out, and it showed that the rate of prepubescent children went up substantially during just the 2020 year. And so, for me, that's a super interesting. Like that's a key point we could look at and see what was going on during that time. You also brought up mood disorders, and this is one that I've struggled at with in the pharmacy. We're seeing more girls on antidepressants younger now. And how much, Nikki? How much do you think that maybe the puberty coming on early has to do with all of that?
Probably a significant amount, but that's like playing with a ball of fire. If you're putting all of that into the mix, that's really frightening.
Absolutely. Like we already know PMDD. So, right before when your estrogen starts to drop before you start to menstruate, you get this drop in serotonin. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as a parent, I have all boys, so it makes it easy on this one because with four
Yeah.
boys. But as a parent, I would look at it, and a lot of mothers are struggling with the idea of putting them on antidepressants because puberty's coming on. Um, if you were in that situation, is there any advice you would give to someone?
Well, at this point, after dealing with some of those ramifications in my personal life, I would actually go a different route and check the hormones and see what I can do naturally versus ever getting on medication.
Now, Zen, when you talked about that leptin levels and obesity rates, do you think that it's the obesity rate, or do you think it's the food, or do you think we've got a combination of things going on that causes this jump?
It's definitely a combination. I believe that parents are no longer actually preparing and cooking meals, but rather relying on microwavable and processed foods. And parents have to start planning their children's meals again because obesity has been linked to earlier periods in girls since the 1970s. Forget the pandemic stuff that we just talked about. And numerous studies since have established that girls who are overweight or obese tend to start their periods earlier than girls of average weights do. So, in one decade long study of nearly 1,200 girls in Louisiana published in 2003, childhood obesity was linked to earlier periods, and then each standard deviation above the average childhood weight was associated with a doubled chance of having a period before age 12. But many girls who develop early are not overweight, so obesity can't explain all of this, right? So there's definitely more there.
Absolutely. And one of the interesting things that I always look at is we're starting to isolate a few items like phthalates and parabens that we know are hormone disruptors. And even more like some of the perfumes, there's a lot of those that are disrupting hormones. And so when I talk about supplements, I always talk about places like MaryRuth's that keeps a very clean supplement that stays away from the GMO. Because the GMO thing kind of has me a little bit concerned, because that we're going to continually have genetically modified products, but there seems to be a trend that the more we use, the faster this goes. So, Nikki, is there anything you do in your life to help, where you've lived through some of this, where you help try to reduce some of your risks to maybe some of these hormone disruptors?
Well, that's funny because my family actually does use Mary Ruth products. My daughter actually takes them now and gives them to her children. So we definitely love Mary Ruth, but I think a lot of it is atmosphere as well. So I try to get out of the city, not be in the toxins of the city, because the pollutants there, there's different radiation, and then you add fuel to the fire with so many other factors as far as the food and the stress. And so I try to eat a very clean diet, and just I've cut out caffeine, I've cut out sugar, I've tried to do all the things to minimize the risks of these problems.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, there's another one that another trend that kind of goes along with this that I've noticed, and that is there's a lot of news about girls using adult skincare products for anti-aging at younger and younger ages. Now, I don't use as many as maybe other people do. So I thought, Zen, where you've been in the beauty industry for so long, what concerns do you have with little girls using retinoic acids and vitamin C serums and all of those things?
I have a huge concern with that. Their skin is very, very pure. It's still developing. It's still more sensitive than an adult skin would be. That barrier hasn't properly formed, and it's also extremely potent and porous because young skin will absorb faster than adult skin. And so if they're absorbing byproducts and chemtrails as a result of using products that are not fit nor healthy for their vanilla skin, if you will, that really concerns me, because when you look at chemtrails, right, chemtrails are at the heart of this. Chemical exposures are to blame. Chemtrails are major endocrine disruptors. And in one study, the girls with the earliest breast developments, and this was a study back in 2009, had the highest urine levels of phthalates, substances used to make plastics more durable that are found in everything from vinyl flooring to food packaging. And phthalates belong to a broader class of chemicals called endocrine disruptors, which can affect the behavior and hormones and have become ubiquitous in the environment over the past several decades. So it all points back to making sure you know what's in your food, making sure you know what you're putting into your face, and more importantly, making sure you know what products you're allowing your children to use.
Absolutely. And I think that there's a mental health component that comes in with all these girls, because they feel younger and younger that they have to do more and more in order to be accepted. Now, Nikki, you talked about having some personal experience in all of this, and obviously you know what you're doing in the beauty industry because you're gorgeous. But if you
Thank
had
you.
advice for younger girls, like what advice would you give on trying to navigate this complex lifestyle that they all are in now?
Oh my goodness. Well, I had the exact situation where I started my period at 12. I mean, no, actually 10. So I developed in fifth grade. I had, the same body in fifth grade. So it was a big problem as far as safety, as far as the emotional and the mental health, and navigating like people thinking that I was older than I am, because mentally and emotionally I was not. So I would say, with how they have social media now, and there's so much influence on every move to garner likes, to make sure you're popular, I would still say stay true to yourself versus following the crowd, because you can get so lost following the crowd and trying to be like someone else. It's so much better to embrace your own natural beauty and not try to emulate what someone else is doing, because it doesn't give you happiness.
No, it never really does, and usually you find yourself more lost, and then you go through a whole journey to go back to where you were at to begin with. And I
Yep.
think that that's beautiful advice, like completely what I wanted to hear. Zen, you have a daughter, and I know that you work really hard to let her be a child. What message would you send to her or her peers when it comes to becoming a girl, becoming a woman, maybe a little bit too early, and how do you help them navigate that?
That's a great question. And my daughter is 8 and she's already developing. She is wearing a size 7 women's shoe and she's in the 2nd grade. She's totally balanced in terms of height and weight, meaning she's a very tall girl. She's in the top 225th percentile for height. And so I'm anticipating early, precocious puberty, if you will. So I just reassure her that she doesn't need to be embarrassed or afraid. These are normal changes that happen to your body. I tell her that, everything's working normally, just a little bit too fast, and in some kids, too slow. And precocious puberty can have physical consequences as well. So raising awareness on long-term heart disease and breast cancer risks and prematurely aging bones. I keep that in mind as a parent. Of course, I don't stress her with that, but that could compromise a child's height if their growth plates close too soon, right? So if you notice
Right.
your child forming breasts before age 8 or developing underarm hair, pubic hair, acne, or body odor before age 9, I would say contact the primary care doctor for an evaluation. Opt for not using any kind of puberty blocking drugs. I am completely against that. It was popular in the 80s to slow down puberty. I am not a believer in disrupting nature's course. And with simple blood tests, X-rays, ultrasounds, and MRIs, they can detect any abnormalities, tumors, determine bone age and hormone health. But you should leave the puberty blocking drugs completely out of the conversation and the narrative as a parent who wants to do right by their child.
Absolutely. And one of those things that I look at a lot is melatonin. I wanted to bring melatonin up this because melatonin is such an interesting topic because so many kids are taking it and it's highly unregulated. Some of them have up to 500 times the amount of melatonin it says in the bottle. And we know at high doses of melatonin, we can have issues where we start to cross over with all those hormones. And so with when we talk about sleep and hormone disruptors and the way that the kids aren't sleeping, one thing that I always push, and Mary Ruth has this really awesome product where instead of using melatonin, they're using magnesium and
Mhm.
L-theanate. So you're going something more natural. In the same way, Zen, you're bringing up the fact that maybe we don't block the hormones, but we present another way and we help them through it. I think that it's
Yes.
so essential that we do it that way.
Without a doubt, and we have to roll with the times because for decades, medical textbooks have defined the stages of puberty using the so-called Tanner scale, which was based on close observations between 1949 and 1971, like
Right.
about 700 girls and boys who had lived in an orphanage in England. Like what? That's what we're
Right.
that's what we're basing our current
That
parenting
right.
research on. Like that's doesn't work for me. So the scale defines normal puberty as starting at age 8 or above for girls and age 9 or above for boys, but you can't go by these outdated scales. So I always say
Mhm.
trust your gut as a parent.
Absolutely. Nikki, you've got a couple of kids. What have you done that's trust your gut that has worked with you and your kids?
I've kind of gone against the grain of what it's actually funny that everyone since the pandemic has kind of taken this new route as far as let's homeschool, let's do more natural things, let's not really follow the status quo. Let's actually do take magnesium and other supplements like that. And so I had them, their snacks were like seaweed chips or something like that. So I took different routes before it was kind of, trendy. So I think that's helped is like to not follow the crowd and to kind of take your own route, and eventually the crowd will follow you, and but you take what's better for you in the long run.
Absolutely, and I think that's the perfect thing to say. You know you best, and your kids, you know what's best for them as well. Well, this has been awesome. I really appreciate it. This was so easy. You guys make it so easy to do this. This was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was America's favorite pharmacist, brought to you by MaryRuth Organics. That was the incredible pharmaceutical expert and mega social media influencer, our regular contributor, Phil Cowley, joined by our dear friend, Nikki Giavasis, beauty and wellness advocate, author, and influencer. Do check out the amazing Nikki Giavasis on the gram at Nikki Giavasis Official, and check out Phil on Instagram at Phil's My Pharmacist. Head directly to MaryRuth Organics on their website at MaryRuthOrganics.com or check them out at MaryRuth Organics. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by MaryRuth's Organics. Not all supplements are alike. MaryRuth's believes that making the best supplements means creating products that are only made out of the highest quality ingredients. They are non-GMO, plant-based, vegan, and they taste great. MaryRuth's Organics assist in maintaining your health and aid your body on your way to wellness. For more information, go to MaryRuthOrganics.com and use the promo code PHIL20MRO for 30% discount off your first order. That's MaryRuthOrganics.com.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CO2 Lift. As we age, our skin loses moisture and elasticity, causing wrinkled skin. You can reverse this aging process with CO2 Lift. CO2 Lift utilizes the powerful benefits of carbon dioxide to lift, tighten, and regenerate your skin. This simple, painless at-home carboxytherapy treatment is scientifically proven to reverse the aging process. You will see reduction in wrinkles, increase in luminosity, and improve pigmentation, sagging, skin tone, and radiance. For more information or to order CO2 Lift, go to CO2Lift.com.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. This is your favorite iHeart Radio host from 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm right here in Midtown Manhattan at the Hilton Hotel for Beauty Through Science, and we're talking with Dr. Bucky from Philadelphia. Dr. Bucky, one thing that Beauty Through Science effectively does is introduce different methods to the industry, whether it's pre or post surgery, products, techniques. One of them happens to be a product called carbon dioxide therapy for the skin, carboxytherapy. It's been around since the 1930s, although the application uses have now dramatically changed and it's much more effective, non-invasive. What are your thoughts, your initial thoughts on carboxytherapy for the skin?
I think the untapped area for patients after surgery in particular is aftercare. Patient goes and has surgery, they're at home, they're not looking great, they're not feeling great. It's a perfect formula for, anxiety, if you will. Things that allow you to look better, heal faster, feel good are a tremendous boost to the experience for patients. And I think that carboxygel is a great opportunity to impact that aftercare period. So one, I'm interested in for that reason. The second thing is that as we're doing less invasive treatments or more minimally invasive treatments, treating people before and after to help them heal and make the entire experience better and look better in a minimally invasive way also has benefits. So I think it fits that opportunity as well. Between the two, I think it's a very good solution for patients and the patient experience, so it fits in my practice.
And when you have a product that's sustainable, that's non-invasive, that's all natural, that doesn't have lots of fillers and byproducts, in fact, close to none, that is something that most practitioners like to really look under the hood and say, wait, this is something that we want to explore further. Now, in this particular case, when you have CO2 and you combine this gel formula and you apply it topically as a monotherapy and or even combo therapy, pre and post surgery, that really changes the game of scars and healing and regeneration in that skin. So when we talk about plastic surgery, what are your areas of expertise? And if you could find a use case in your practice, what would be the best application for CO2 lift?
Well, essentially, again, I do a lot of facelift surgery. So as I described before, the opportunity to care for patients afterwards while they're healing is a tremendous opportunity. In addition, skincare and anything that can make you glow, look better after laser treatments, microneedling, I think also is an opportunity for patients. So it's not as simple as just this will improve scars, but it is as simple as if this makes you look better, heal quicker, and give you a patient something to do to look a little bit better, even if it's temporary, fits the need for our patients. And if you can make the patient experience better, then you're making my practice better. And if you're making my practice better, I'm very interested, and this seems to do that.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Kathy Ireland's Your Home TV and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
Check out Firehouse Kitchen. Firefighter Ray combines firefighter lifestyle and fine cuisine. Join him as he travels the country searching for the finest chefs among our bravest heroes. Check out firehouse.kitchentv.com and catch every episode on yourhometv.com. These cooks save lives.
A Moment of Zen is sponsored by Body Align. Are you ready for a long winter's nap? Over 183 million adults have trouble sleeping at least once a week. That's why Body Align designed a wearable patch that helps you fall asleep faster, wake up feeling refreshed, and comes with a money-back guarantee. Try the Sweet Dreams patch today and get a buy one, get one free pack with the promo code DYP. Visit bodyalign.com and enter DYP at checkout because discovering your potential starts with a great night's sleep. That's bodyalign.com.
Welcome back to this week's Discover Your Potential Express segment, sponsored by Body Align on A Moment of Zen, right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm Anna DeVere, co-host of Discover Your Potential, and today we'll be chatting about the L word. Now, I don't know what just crossed your mind, but I'm talking about love, and more importantly, self-love. We're doing a check-in today because, believe it or not, everything in your current circumstances is a reflection of the most important relationship in your life, the one you have with yourself. So how are things in your world? And let's get even more personal. How are things in your financial world? Are you coming up short these days? I am so excited to share some deep secrets with you about the correlation between love and money. And I'm giving you a runway to get acquainted with this idea. And no, I didn't come up with it. One of my favorite coaches, Morgana Ray, will be featured this February in the Season of Love to give you a major boost. Morgana has coached thousands through her program, Financial Alchemy. And it's so effective, it changed my life immediately. This radical breakthrough can work for you too. And I recommend picking up Financial Alchemy immediately. And while you're waiting for this transformational workbook to arrive, here's some appetizing advice. How you feel about yourself has everything to do with what's in your bank account. And maybe finances are not your biggest challenge at the moment. It could be something else that's causing you friction. Whatever the obstacle, it's time to get in touch with the real saboteur between you and your goals, because it's likely the same across the board: negative self-talk. Research shows that your subconscious beliefs are far more powerful than all the affirmations in the world. In fact, without knowing what's eating you, affirmations are like putting a Band-Aid on a snake bite. According to Morgana Ray, uncovering the root of this venom will help you identify your money monster. Just knowing that life is a merciless mirror of what's going on under the surface should give you hope that the power to change is in your hands. So let's start with getting comfortable with that self-check-in. And if you can, find one thing you love in your reflection today. I always loved being my age, and I'm starting to appreciate things like naturally curly hair and my perfectly imperfect, friendly smile. Join me this year in a year of transformation with my favorite expert guests, and look for the upcoming interview with Zen, Morgana Ray, and me. I promise it'll be juicy, just in time for Valentine's Day. From iHeart to your heart, this Express segment was sponsored by Body Align. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Kathy Ireland's Your Home TV and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
Levi Riggs on Your Home TV. Check out Harvesting Hits. Country singer and farmer Levi Riggs combines life on the farm with life on the road. Get ready for stories of perseverance, passion, and the power of pursuing your dreams against all odds. Check out Levi at leviriggs.com.
Well, that's a wrap, my dear friends. Remember to join me right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. Or you could head to 710WOR.iHeart.com/A Moment of Zen. You can always find us on our YouTube channel as we upload Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern. And of course, all episodes of A Moment of Zen are available on Kathy Ireland's Your Home TV streaming platform. That's free programming to you. We stream it 24/7 for one full week. You could head directly to our channel at mox.yourhometv.com. Thank you for listening to A Moment of Zen. It's been an absolute pleasure being your host. Thanks again to all of our sponsors that continue to make this show possible. And remember that happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it. We'll see you next week.